Hi, and welcome to Predator Talks, the CPMA podcast. In this presentation from the CPMA Trade Show Floor, we're exploring fresh trends in floral. Pulling from his over 35 years of experience and unique insights into this part of the fresh category, Jay Schwanke will discuss how the latest trends on the floral department are poised to influence the future of both the produce department and the broader retail industry. Here we go.
26% of the flower buying public that we have in the U.S. Then we go to millennials, about 25%. We have Gen X, that's about 20%, 21% boomers, and 8% are the silent generation. So it's kind of changed dramatically that these younger customers are starting to affect our flower industry. And one of the things that we know about them is they've not been trained to buy flowers. And so I think it's also important for us to think about why the boomers themselves buy flowers. So they're more likely than any other generation to purchase flowers. And they'll purchase them once a week or once every 2 weeks. And probably the most likely place for them to purchase them is at the mass market level because they're also going to the grocery store. They tend to purchase flowers for other people as well. And that's super important for us to realize. They also have super high expectations of the professional florist, but not necessarily from a cash and carry item. So when they look at that cash and carry item at the grocery store level, they're going to want it to be colorful, they're going to want it to be full, and they're not going to be deterred by price. That's another super important thing about that baby boomer generation. But the problem is that generation is shrinking. They were shaped by recession and by terrorism, and I think that just was kind of a great dovetail to our keynote this morning at breakfast, is that I'm the very end of that baby boomer generation. And so we shaped much of that on fear. We were fear-based people. That's why we buy stuff, why we hold on to stuff, why we keep things. And we are considered the ones to be financially cautious, we demand a good value, we save for the future, and 72% of the baby boomers want to own their own business. So that's that generation that's used to walking into the grocery store, picking up a bouquet of flowers and taking them home with them. Or when they have an idea about something, they think, oh, you know what? I need to pick up some flowers because I'll take some flowers when I'm going to dinner tonight. Or I have a friend who's sick, I'm going to pick up and buy those flowers. Generation X, those are the ones born from 1965 to 1980, okay? They are more likely than any other generation to purchase flowers for other people, but not themselves. Okay? They're more inclined to purchase flowers if there's signage that goes along with it to give them permission. So it's a great opportunity for me to talk about a success story from Safeway and Albertsons in the United States. They're our largest mass market company for distribution of flowers. They created a program where they did a study and found out that $12.95 was the perfect amount of money for a Generation X person to spend on flowers for themselves. And they developed a couple of promotions that go along with that. Trader Joe's also implemented it. So Trader Joe's is 3 for $12. They have little bunches of flowers that are 3 for $12. And the thing that Generation X loves about that is that they can get involved with the purchase and the collection that they're going to have. One of them is a bunch of eucalyptus, one of them is 6 stems of Gerber daisies, one of them is 6 stems of iris. So from that aspect, they're grabbing those different pieces together and they're putting together their own collection of 3 for $12. It could be 3 bunches of iris, it could be 3 bunches of Gerbers, it could be 3 bunches of eucalyptus, or it could be a mix and match. Albertson and Safeway's most successful promotion that they did was called To Me, From Me, Love Me. And it was giving them permission to purchase a bouquet for themselves, from themselves, to take home and decorate their home. One of the things that I think is the most important thing for us to think about is when it comes to flowers. There's a health benefit that goes along with them. And the health benefit that goes along with them is that people who are surrounded by flowers have happier thoughts. Also, people who have flowers in their homes have a 24% reduction in disagreements in their homes. Okay? So Rutgers study and Boston University study tells us that having those flowers in our home is a great way for us to feel happier. Also, senior citizens that are surrounded by flowers will enlarge their circles of friends. They have less depressing thoughts. They're even more likely to seek medical attention when they're sick if there's flowers in their home. Weird correlation, right? But it's something that they know about them, okay? These studies have told us that. The other thing that's very interesting about it, too, is that people who are sick who receive flowers will get better faster if they receive flowers. If the flowers are yellow, they'll get better 25% faster still. So yellow flowers can affect the people in an extremely positive way. So now let's talk about those millennials. The millennials born 1981 to 1997, they personally control $200 billion in spending power. And they also affect $500 billion indirectly. They spend less than $50 presently on flowers per year. Contrast for you for baby boomers will spend on average of $200 to $300 annually on flowers. They're more likely to buy flowers to celebrate their own special occasion. They're likely to purchase flowers if they're bundled again in those smaller bunches. So they look for those 3 for $12 because they feel that flowers themselves are a luxury that they can't afford. That people who want to have a luxurious item, they're gonna pick those up. They're also more likely to purchase the flowers if there's an expectation label on them. These flowers are going to last 5 to 7 days. So back to what we were talking about this morning, they want to know where the flowers are grown. They want to know if they're organically grown. And we're going to talk a little bit about this study that was done was very interesting to me when I was listening to the program this morning. Generation Z, that's the ones 1988 to 2012. Those people have about a $44 billion buying power at the present time. But we don't have a lot of statistics about them because they're too young. The one thing about them, though, is that, and this is where it ties into this morning, they're less brand conscious because they don't trust brands. They hate corporate greed. They want to reward social good. And they demand transparency in their items. So I can see why people would use the non-GMO label because they want to appeal to that group of people. They also support brands that align with their core values. And they're concerned about the impact on the planet. So let's go back to the millennials for half a second because I think it's important for us to think about them because they are coming into our stores. They are coming into the produce department. That's the first place that most of them identify that they've ever seen flowers. For baby boomers, they said that the first place they ever saw it was at a florist and their first buying experience was for prom. The millennials are telling us the first place they ever saw it was at the grocery store level, and it was as a reward for something that might have been a ballet recital or something like that. So they have good memories about receiving flowers. Since flowers are alive and perishable, they feel that they are a very, 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 that's 3 varies, special gift. I think that's I feel like flowers are a great icebreaker. They're a disposable gift. It's a really fun way to make somebody feel good, but I don't feel like it's a very, very, very special gift. They really like the artistic arrangements, but don't feel that they can afford them. They feel that many other gifts are more appropriate than flowers. And as a flower industry person, we realize that that's an important area for us to change their behavior. It's not their top choice of gifts, and they feel that flowers are a traditional gift mainly used by older customers. Now, here's the other thing that's really interesting about them. They hate the word floral. They like the word flower, but they hate the word floral. So it was interesting when they came up with my presentation today that we were going to talk about floral trends. And I was like, wow, we should be talking about flower trends. We should be talking about the flower department. We should be talking about flower sellers, not floral trends. It's an antiquated term. And so it was actually a linguist study that was done by Boston University that found out that floral made people feel unappealed. They didn't like it. It was unappealing to them. So when you talk to millennials and they rank their favorite place to buy flowers, their number one place was 69% was local florist. But the second one was grocery stores at 63%. The place that they don't want to buy them is toll-free or telephone services or buying them online. They don't want to do that. And I think that's very interesting because, you know, they live with this. So that means that they're going to buy flowers at the grocery store, they're going to buy flowers at a florist, and they're not going to buy them online, but they are going to rely on Yelp or interesting things that's going to give them advice about where to buy flowers. So the other thing about them is that they love discounts, they like free add-ons, they don't want to have a punch card though, and they want their password or username to be easily associated with their telephone number or their email address, and they want it to be looked up that way. And they never want their purchasing pieces to expire. They're going to love Delta because the miles never expire, okay? They love incentives for liking a page or checking in or sharing products of the photos. So those are also super important to them. They're the most interested in loyalty programs that offer free products, discounts, or member-only sales. So that's important to know about them. They also love to communicate visually. So coming in, it was interesting today, I walked over to see, I just went over to look at Morgan Creek Tropicals. And she has a little display of all the little tropical planters and stuff and succulents. And right down in front, she has the dinosaurs. There's 3 dinosaurs that have a succulent in their back. She said that's the thing everyone has stopped and taken a picture of. Everyone. And then she said her best-selling item is the money plant that she has in there, which is basically a pancake peperomia. And she said it's the most expensive plant in the booth too, but that's the one that everybody wants. And she said it's because everybody feels that it will bring money into your home. And so she said hot, super trendy for them. So I think that's interesting because those are things that they're going to share when they start to talk about it online. The other thing that I think is important about the millennials too is that we need to train them to purchase flowers. But at the same time, and this was just super important to me, was that a 2010 study told us that the consumer, we had 12 seconds to capture their attention. They recently updated that study in 2017 and told us we have 8 seconds. That means that the consumer's attention span is shorter than a goldfish. A goldfish has an attention span of 11 seconds. So we, as consumers, are quicker to make up our mind at that point in time. So I think that's important for us to think about. So when we think about involving floral in our produce sections, we know that the color's going to attract them. Color's going to be super important to them. Price point's going to be really important. $12.95 or so. Signage that tells them it's okay to buy flowers. And the fact that they can mix and match or be part of the decision making. They don't really like pre-made bouquets. They love these bouquets that are dense, monotypical bouquets. So a bunch of eucalyptus, a bunch of Gerber daisies, a bunch of iris. They want to mix and match those, and they want to be part of the decision-making process. For that generation, everything about them is experiential. They want to experience it. They want to have an experience. They want to be part of whatever that is. So I think that's a super important thing to remember. The other thing that I noticed when I was walking around is BC Fresh has vases in their booth that have potatoes in the bottom with water, and then they have Gerber daisies in the top. That is going to attract the attention of a millennial. A millennial's going to say, what's that all about? What's that? I mean, I think about the floral soda when I was a kid. There was a flower arrangement that was made to look like a soda, had styrofoam in the bottom of a soda glass, 5 carnations on the top and 2 straws, and it looked like a soda, okay? And we would sell them for $20, all right? I think that type of thing would be very well accepted by a millennial because it's flowers doing another duty. It's going to have an experience for them. It's going to create a fun thing that's going to happen for them. So I think from that aspect, I think it's super important. So what do you think? I mean, I'm curious to know what you think about this too, because part of the learning lounges is you guys being able to ask questions as well. So, I mean, I threw out a lot of millennial and baby boomer information, but at the same time, is floral part of what you do right now? Okay. So, and is it popular? Is it helpful? Okay. Okay, all right. But I'm curious because with the health benefits that go along with it, I think that's one of the things that we've completely ignored. Oh, no. You know, all I asked her was, I said is, yeah, no mic. Okay, I can repeat for you too. So how do you, what do you look for when you look for floral for your store?
Variety.
Okay.
Color.
Okay.
We also have a bit of giftware, so it's something that catches people's eye. The display, people will stop.
The dinosaurs.
I saw the skulls.
Right. Oh. Okay. So now, let's just talk about that for half a second, because that's a really, really important part of trend. So for trend, I have a little trend card over here that talks about the 4 trends in flower. Yeah, that are the flower trends that we have for 2018, 2019. You can download, it's a 6-page document that includes all of those trends. One of those trends is social, but the social trend includes a huge portion about Day of the Dead. And so, do you know the process behind why Day of the Dead is so popular? Do you know why? Was it popular with you 2 or 3 years ago? Not really? No. Okay, do you know why? What? Oh, it is your birthday? Okay, awesome. Okay, Disney. She wants to get rid of the mic. Disney was the reason that we're experiencing this with Day of the Dead because of the film Coco. They announced the film Coco 3 years ago. They had the premiere. Now, one of the things that the flower companies are looking for right now is being able to offer you bundles of marigolds for Day of the Dead because it is the flower of Day of the Dead. That's the flower that they use. And when they had the Disney premiere in Hollywood, they had instead of a red carpet, they had a marigold carpet. And marigolds play an integral part in that. So the Ball Seed Company went out and they developed marigolds that now have a lesser scent, because one of the reasons that people told them they wouldn't carry marigolds was because of the strong aromatic scent. Okay, but that's also part of the deal. It's believed that the scent of the marigolds brings your family members back so you can celebrate Day of the Dead with them. How many of you have seen Coco? Oh, awesome! Me too. Did you cry? Cried and cried. I mean, like I ugly cried. It was like, it's such a good movie. You have to watch it. So, and it's on the plane right now. So if you're going on the plane, it is on the plane, all right? And I watched it a couple times. But the premise behind the movie is that on Day of the Dead, you put out marigolds, you put out pictures of your family, and you put out their favorite foods. They come back and they celebrate with us, and they believe that they partake of the food. And in the movie, you will completely understand and you will completely buy in. And the story behind it is that if somebody doesn't have a picture up, that finally their spirit will disappear. So I want to make sure somebody's got my picture up, right? And that's the premise behind the movie. And it's a sweet, wonderful movie, but it's made such inroads, and it's made millions and millions and millions of dollars for Disney. $793 million worldwide. Largest animated film of all time, okay? And at the same time, it spawned billions of dollars in merchandise. So why would you not put Day of the Dead in your store? Especially, okay, here's the other thing about kids' movies. So parents buy their kids the movie, right? And then the kids watch the movie over and over and over and over and over, and it becomes a trend with the parents. All right, the best example I can give for you is Shrek, okay? When Shrek was the #1 movie, that's what drove chartreuse green as the #1 color in our country for 4 years in a row. it had everything to do with the color of the movie. So I think from that aspect, we have to remember what those trendy things are. My kids are 30 and 28. I know every single word to The Little Mermaid still to this day, because that was the movie they slugged in the machine and listened to time after time after time. So just remember that those types of things really help us, especially when it comes to trend. And I think trend can be super important. And that's why we see so many of the companies creating bouquets that are themed for us for certain times of the year. So, and the other really successful thing that Safeways did, they did it only at Safeways, they didn't do it at Albertsons. They took and they had a ivory bouquet made and a burgundy bouquet made. They moved them out of their produce department and they put them in a display in their liquor department with Chablis and red wine, and sold those bouquets as a Chablis and a Merlot bouquet. And they can't keep those full. So Safeway is really experimenting with making flowers, placing flowers throughout the supermarket, throughout the entire floor plan, not just being in produce. And the one thing that I would say about it is that the only thing about that is moving them out of that area means that you have to have somebody taking care of them. So that you're going to have to see that at points in time. Other questions? What else do you guys think? Shoot. Awesome. As a millennial, okay, good though. No, that's okay. It's all right. Okay.
As a millennial,
okay.
I think that instead of cut flowers, like actual full plants and succulents and things like that are something that are maybe more appealing. So I haven't seen much of that in grocery stores.
Why? Why do you feel that's more? I want to know why.
In terms of waste.
Oh, okay.
Because then it's something that you can keep for a longer time instead of this very temporary gift.
Got it.
And something that you get to take care of.
So what do you think about so what do you think about permanent flowers?
Where would they go? Like into your garden?
No, permanent flowers.
Like an orchid?
No, like a permanent like a fake flower.
Oh, like fake flowers. No, because they're plastic.
Okay, no, I like that. I completely buy in, and I know exactly what you're saying, and that's the challenge that we look at. So when you think about, as a millennial, when you think about flowers, you want something that's going to last and be there for a longer period of time. You want a relationship with it? Do you want to be able to water it and talk to it? And okay, yes. Now the other thing that I was talking to her over there about, the 5 most popular plants right now are Sansevieria, which is, we call it the mother-in-law plant, yeah, or the snake plant. Just depends on what your relationship is like, right? Okay. The Boston ferns, or any type of fern, okay, but ferns. Fig trees, but especially the fiddle leaf. So the big fiddle leaf that's over there, not the fig tree like we grew up with, but the fiddle leaf fig. A peace lily, because it does bloom. And what's the one I'm forgetting about? Oh, the airplane plant, the spider plant. Okay, so all of those plants also have been found to improve our sleep. So I have all 5 of those plants in my bedroom because it does improve my sleep. But because I believe it, it also improves my sleep. And that was the argument I wanted to have at breakfast today was, but if I believe it, okay, whether it's true or not, if I believe it, that's a really important part about it. So, but each one of those plants does something different to the air, helps give us more oxygen in the air, but like the ferns give us more humidity in the air, which makes it better and easier for us to sleep. So I think that's an interesting I thank you for sharing that with everybody because I think it's important for us to know. So everybody always asks me too. So I have flowers in at least 5 rooms in the house at all times, but I'm the flower guy. And I love the fact that when I'm arranging flowers, my body secretes endorphins that makes me feel more relaxed. I also feel like people don't necessarily know what to do with that bouquet when they get it, and so they'll take it and drop it into a vase. And so we've created videos that talk about the shortcut, talk about the tape grid that you can do on top, so it's easier for people to arrange them. I think that it's interesting, too, that in Europe there's a different culture with it, that when you go to someone's house in Europe, you bring flowers. So I lived in England for a little while, and I worked for a lady there. And when I got to her house, the first time her husband picked me up, brought me to her home, I walked in the house, and she said, "Where's my flowers?" And I said, "I just got off an 8-hour plane ride." And she said, no, let me tell you. You're going to be staying with me. You're going to be working in my store. I'm going to provide shelter for you. I'm going to provide meals for you. So you give me flowers. And if they should die, you go out and buy more. And I said, okay, but I just got off the airplane from the U.S. And she said, you passed 9 places where you could have bought flowers for me. So I got back in the car with him, and I went back with him. And when we go to Amsterdam to look for new varieties of roses, which is a really fun job. But when we go there, our Amsterdam friend says, "Oh, you're the Americans. You bring wine and help us drink half of it." And they're like, "We bring flowers." And so I get that part of it being, I just read an article the other day, too, that was very interesting about someone who said, don't bring flowers to a dinner party because the host has to stop and put them in a vase. I always bring flowers to a dinner party, but I always put them in the vase for you. That's what my job is. So it's always just like, hey, give me a vase, and I'll put, oh, thank you. And then it's the talk of the party. So I think that kind of flips it, too. So very, very interesting. Other questions? Okay.
There we go. Do you have another example of kind of one of those treat yourself promotions or anything that kind of, in which you said millennials are the ones that are treat yourself, or who's the
Millennials don't want to treat Millennials don't want to treat themselves, but they want signage that gives them permission to buy flowers.
So hashtag treat yourself.
Hashtag treat yourself.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah. Or
Right.
I think a natural one for it is the health benefits. So if you're a millennial couple, so I have a niece and nephew who are a millennial couple, and I use them all the time as test subjects. They're like my hamsters, okay? But I'm always like, Nick, houses that have flowers in them have less arguments. And he's like, bring me flowers, Uncle Jay. We need flowers in our house. So I think, homes that have flowers in them have 24% less arguments. I can see a couple going by and saying, her turning to him and being like, there you go. I mean, from that aspect, I think that takes it that way. Now, people who enjoy flowers are less depressed. They have happier thoughts. Our bodies physically secrete endorphins that make us feel more zen-like and better. It's dopamine. Our body releases dopamine when there are flowers present. And also when we arrange flowers, and also when we give them, and also when we receive them. All 4 of those actions allow the recipient to have a dopamine release. So that's a cool thing. Then if you're sick, you get better if there's flowers in the room. Okay, that was the Rutgers study. And if they're yellow flowers, faster still. So, I joke about it. If I was an American supermarket with all of our healthcare craziness that happens, I would have a sign that says, here's your healthcare reform. It's a vase of flowers. That's better. Everyone will feel better. So I think that there's ways to spin off that. For seniors who are surrounded by flowers, feel less depressed thoughts. Side note, I'm going to switch to rosemary for half a second. Rosemary physically activates our memory cells, present and past. My father has Alzheimer's. He's 96 years old. I bought him a rosemary plant, and I make him go rub it every day. And I said, if you can't remember something, go rub the rosemary plant and smell it and see if that helps. He thinks it does, so I'm not arguing with that, he doesn't know who, really, truly, my dad does not know who I am anymore. My dad, when I go there, he's like, that nice guy brought me a rosemary plant. Or I was home 2 weeks ago. He said, is that guy still here? To my mom. Okay, but it's the disease, it's not my dad. But if I can help that with a plant or a flower, I'm gonna do that. So I think sleep, do you want to sleep better? Here's your little selection of 2-inch pots. And maybe you buy all 5. Maybe it's 5 for 20. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I don't know how you can, what the price point is on that, but maybe sleep better. Lavender causes relaxation. So if I have lavender plants, I'm going to want to relax more. So I think that there's a plethora of things. So if you want those studies are at a website called aboutflowers.com. It's the Society of American Florists website, but Dr. Haviland Jones's health benefit studies are on that. You can read them. They're right there. So, good question.
And that's it. That's all that we have for you this month on Produce Talks. I'd like to thank all our guests for being part of our show. Our sponsor, Nature Fresh Farms, your support is very appreciated. And I'd like to thank you for listening. Remember to check out elearning.cpma.ca to find out more about online training available from CPMA. Until next time, remember to seek out new knowledge, build your skills and abilities, and basically, never stop growing.
You will now be disconnected by the moderator.